Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Mavidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Abundance, gratitude, very, very key, essential states of consciousness. We don't often realize how important it is that we live in a space of gratitude and abundance as a mindset, as a form of how we exist in our consciousness. So many of you will know we've just now experienced the celebration of Govardhana Lila, Govardhana Puja. And the story of Govardhana Puja is, unfortunately, well, I shouldn't say unfortunately, but oftentimes the true or one of the key significant lessons we can learn from the story of Govardhana is often missed, or not at least emphasized as much as it possibly could be. And that is this principle of abundance and gratitude, particularly. Abundance is there, but particularly gratitude. So let's go and briefly go through the story, because it's a very long story of Govardhan Lila, Govardhan Puja. So Krishna was a young boy, 4, maybe 5 years old. He's described as being very, very young. And he was living with his parents in the village of Vrindavan. And his elder brother, Balaram, was also with him. He was with his mother and father, Yashoda, and Nanda Maharaj. And it's a farming community. It's a agrarian community. But even so, they were not poor, not by any standards. In fact, Nanda Maharaj and the community, the farming community that is Vrindavan, or that was Vrindavan, was a very affluent agrarian farming community. Every year, the community of Vrindavan, they would perform Indra Yagya. Indra Yagya is talked about quite often, very much in the Rig Veda. In fact, much of the Rig Veda is given over to the story of Indra, the worship of Indra, and so on and so forth. So it's not uncommon, it's not out of place for Nanda Maharaj and the community there to, following the Vedic principles of Rig Veda, engage in Indra Yagya. So the entire community was preparing, cleaning the roads, cleaning the houses, decorating the entire community, the entire township of Vrindavan. Enormous preparations were taking place. And the kids, they were watching all of this. Give me a moment while I deal with a little bit of technical issues here. That's done. So the kids, the children of Vrindavan, Krishna, Balaram, all the cowherd boys and girls, they were watching all of these festivities. And Krishna was now old enough to have some understanding of what was happening and to have some ability to ask questions and what's going on here. So Krishna, very confused and curious, as any child would be, seeing all of these preparations, went to his father, Nanda Maharaj, and he says, "My dear father, my dear dad, what's going on here? What are all these preparations? I've never seen such elaborate, such extensive. What's going on?" So Nanda Maharaj, he gave Krishna the Disney version of what was taking place. He was saying, "Oh, we are an agrarian society, we are a farming community, so we need the rain from the skies in order to take care of our livestock, in order to water the fields. Without the rain, we have nothing. So, according to the Vedas, the Rig Veda, we are engaging in this Indra Yajna to worship Lord Indra so that he supplies the rain that we need. But don't you worry about it. You can participate, you can watch us do it, but just be on the side there and you can participate in your own little way." So Krishna scratches his chin and says, "Really? But Dad, doesn't Indra or doesn't the rain fall in the ocean where there's plenty of water and rain is not necessary? Doesn't the rain fall on stone where there's nothing going to grow anyway, but it falls there as much as it falls on your plowed fields? So rain is going to fall anyway, right?" And Nanda Maharaj was, "Well, yes, that's true, but still, we want to worship Lord Indra to make sure he gives rain and provides rain because that's his responsibility to give rain. So we just want to make sure that we get the rain that we need for our crops and for our livestock." Well, Krishna says, "Well, that's interesting. So you're saying our responsibility is to worship Lord Indra?" And Nandamar says, "Yes, it's our responsibility as recipients. We should worship Lord Indra in that regard because our responsibility is yajna, to give in yajna." Krishna actually affirms this also. Those of you who've been with me long enough will know. When we studied the third chapter, Krishna talks about this relationship between demigods, gods, and human beings. It's much different in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna actually talks about it in a more elevated, in a more detailed, the actual essence of this relationship. But he is picking it apart here with Nanda Maharaj. It is much more clarified in the Bhagavad Gita, which of course Krishna gives later. So Krishna says, "Well, if it's our responsibility," and this is Krishna as a young boy, "so it's our responsibility to engage in yajna to Indra." Nanda Maharaj says, "Yes." And Krishna is very, very curious, very baffled, very confused. "So, what's Indra's responsibility? Because it's supposed to be a mutual relationship, correct?" And then the Maharaj says, "Yes, and Indra's responsibility is to give us rain." So Krishna says, so if Indra's responsibility, if our responsibility is to worship Indra in Indra Yajna, and if we don't do it, what happens? And then the Maharaj says, "Well, Indra can become very angry, can become very upset and punish us." And Krishna says, really? So Indra has a responsibility. So what happens if Indra doesn't do his responsibility? Because his responsibility is to give us rain, right? Yes. So if he doesn't do his responsibility, and we see he's giving rain on the ocean, he's giving rain on the rock. So if he doesn't give rain on our fields, who punishes Indra for not giving rain? And Nanda Maharaj, well, that would be Indra's boss. And Krishna, and Indra's boss would be who? And Nanda Maharaj, granted, I am taking literary license here in terms of the dialogue between the two, but you get the point where Krishna was going with this. And Nanda Maharaj, well, actually, that would be the Supreme Lord Vishnu, Krishna. Hmm. So if the Supreme Lord is responsible or will punish Indra for not giving rain and not performing his responsibilities, shouldn't we then focus on the Supreme rather than Indra? And Nanda Maharaj is now becoming a little flustered because this little 4-year-old child is besting him in Vedanta. Of course, it's Krishna, it's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Nanda Maharaj is saying, well, yes, but, and Krishna continues, well, so what do we have here? And Nanda Maharaj says, well, we're an agrarian society. We have our cows and we have the land. And so Krishna says, well, in that case, why don't we show gratitude for what we already have, right? We have cows. We have hundreds of thousands of cows. Let's give gratitude for the cows because the cows are giving us milk. They're giving us curd. They're giving us all of our wealth comes from the cow. So let's give our appreciation to the cow. And then we have this beautiful, wonderful hill of Govardhana. And from Govardhana, we have all kinds of minerals, all kinds of herbs. The water washes down Govardhana and comes into our fields. Let's show appreciation to Govardhana because also Govardhana, our cows, any of you who may have been to Vrindavan and Govardhana, Govardhana is not a mountain the way it talks. Govardhana is more like a hill on which at the time cows, even to this day, Govardhana's a little rocky at the moment. But anyways, during that time, the cows of Vrindavan would go and they would graze on Govardhana. So Krishna says, why don't we worship Govardhana? Because Govardhana is giving free grass to our cows, and their cows are grazing on Govardhana every single day. And then they're drinking the water of Govardhana. So let's worship the cows, let's worship Govardhana. And the Brahmins, who are giving us so much wisdom, so much education, taking care of all of our needs on a spiritual level, let's worship the cows, let's worship Govardhana, let's worship the Brahmins, and then the Supreme. Why are we going through this middleman, Indra? And Nanda Maharaj could not come up with a counter argument. So he looks around at Nanda Maharaj was the king of Vrindavan, the leader of the community there. So he turns to his advisors and all the other elder members of the community, and no one have an argument, a counter argument to Krishna. So okay, let's do that. So they switch this entire preparation for Indra Yagya. They switch it all the way around and they begin. Oh, and Krishna says, oh, well, I forget a very important point. Nanda Maharaj then turns to Krishna and he's going to catch Krishna. So, how do we worship the cows? How should we do this? We know the process for Indra Yagya, but you're saying worship the cows, worship the Brahmins, worship Govardhana. What do you mean? How do you do this? And Krishna says, feed all the Brahmins, feed all the cows whatever they want, and then worship Giriraj. Giriraj at the time was okay. Well, Giriraj is Govardhan Giriraj. What is Giriraj? It was a concept that was not quite solidified at the moment, but you will see as the Lila unfolds. And let's worship Govardhan, Giriraj, the king of hills. Govardhan was supposed to be the king of hills. So Nanda Maharaj is okay. So they prepare all of this food, copious amounts of food. Anyone who comes from the surrounding villages of Vrindavan, all the Brahmins were welcomed. Food, prasad was given. There is all kinds of entertainment in terms of cultural entertainment, dances, and so on and so forth. An elaborate worship of Govardhan Hill. All the cows were coming. They're bathing the cows, giving the cows, to be quite honest, is go puja, worshiping the cows can be some of the most wonderful, certainly one of the most wonderful experiences of my own childhood, worshiping the cows and bathing the cows and feeding them this kind of molasses and grain sweet balls. Oh, they love it. Anyways, so this is going on. And Indra is in Amaravati. Amaravati is the, what time is it? Amaravati is the kingdom of Indra, the heavenly kingdom of Indra. He's sitting in Amaravati, and he's used to having this annual yajna, this annual worship from the people of Vrindavan, led by Nanda Maharaj. And he's looking down and he realizes that this little boy Krishna, this little kid, this little child, has convinced Nanda Maharaj and this whole community to forego worship of himself. And he's thinking, how dare they? How dare these individuals follow the teachings of this little child, follow the argument of a little child, and not worship me, the King of Heaven? If they don't, without me, they have nothing. I'm going to teach all of them a lesson and teach generations of their family a lesson in the future so that they know never to forget worship of me. He summons Samvartaka. Samvartaka in Vedic cosmology, there is devastation and creation. There's not creation, it goes in cycles. Vedic cosmology is not linear, it's cyclical. So there's creations and devastations, creations and devastations. Recreations and devastations is a better way of putting it. So during the devastation period, the world is inundated with water. And there are particular clouds at the command of Indra that come and pour water for devastation to begin the renewal process for recreation. These clouds are only used during the time of cosmic devastation. Indra summoned those clouds, called Samvartaka. He said, he speaks to Samvartaka, go to Vrindavan and just inundate them. It's an uncommon request. Samvartaka knows that he's only summoned at the time of devastation. This is not the time of devastation. But Indra has commanded. Samvartaka goes and begins to pour. Now, this period, right? This is November, this is Kartik, a very auspicious month. This is the beginning of, actually, let's call it the dry season, but the monsoon is over. The monsoon in this time is between July, August, a little bit of September. But in October, the rains end, things begin to cool down a little bit. And so this is not the time for rain. So Nanda Maharaj and the village of Vrindavan, they are all enjoying this wonderful celebration of Govardhana, worshiping the Brahmins, worshiping the cows. And the rainy season is long gone. Everything is watered. All the reservoirs have filled because of the monsoon. So they have plenty of water for the next 6, 7, 8 months. The rainy season is long past, but all of a sudden, the skies darken. And it darkens in a manner that they've never seen before. The Samvartaka clouds are only seen at the time of devastation. So the inhabitants of Vrindavan, they've never seen this phenomenon. And it begins to rain. And they began to move all of the things. Everyone began rushing inside, because everyone was outdoors at the time, bringing all the tents inside, all the food inside. Everyone, what's going on? But it wasn't simply raindrops that were falling. The description is that raindrops were the size of pillars. So it was actually it wasn't just water that was falling. It was destructive missiles made of water that they would fall and they would create craters in the ground. They would strike with such force. Each so-called raindrop would create a river of its own. And these pillars of raindrops, if we could call them raindrops, so these pillars of rain were falling incessantly. And within moments, The Yamuna River, which flows near Vrindavan, was over flooding her banks. Within moments, the streets and the pathways of Vrindavan were rivers of water. Within moments, people's houses began to fill up. And it happened so quickly. The people of Vrindavan had no idea what to do. Nanda Maharaj had no idea. No one had ever experienced this. This is cataclysmic, literally. This is samvartika, something you don't, there's no shelter to be had when samvartika comes. It's the end of annihilation. It's the cycle of recreation. Nanda Maharaj, there's nothing they can do. Nanda Maharaj, they all turn to Krishna, completely terrified, absolutely terrified. You can imagine. I remember the first time I experienced an eclipse. I was very young. I had no idea what an eclipse was. And when I experienced an eclipse for the first time, it was in India. I was a young boy, and it was after the morning classes. And we would go to the mandir for puja, 5 a.m. We'd come back, and the morning classes begin at 6, 7 o'clock. And the sun would be rising at the time. So the sun was rising, but the eclipse was happening simultaneously. It was an early morning eclipse. And I had no idea what an eclipse was. I never experienced anything in my life. And the usual sunrise that I had experienced all my life up until a very young age of, I think, 11 or 12, whatever it was, it was completely, it was a phenomenon that terrified me because I had no idea. The sky was a shade that I had never experienced before. There were no clouds, of course, but the hue, the color of the sky was something that absolutely terrified me. So you can imagine when you're experiencing a phenomenon, a natural phenomenon that you never experienced before. Maybe you have to go in your own memory, maybe experience maybe a snowstorm or maybe a hailstorm or a hurricane. When it's a phenomenon you've never experienced before, you know nothing about, it can be absolutely terrifying on a very visceral level. And one can easily imagine that this is what the inhabitants of Vrindavan were feeling. And just as in that situation of experiencing an eclipse, I went running to my teachers, trying to control my tears, to be honest. Nanda Maharaj and everyone just turned to Krishna with absolute terror. And Krishna, very soothingly, very calmly, said, "Come, follow me." They all followed Krishna. Krishna went to Govardhana, the hill that is Govardhana. With his left hand, he pushed his hand into the base of the hill and he uprooted an entire mountain, entire hill that is Govardhana. He put it on the pinky of his left hand, raised it up, and gestured. All of you inhabitants of Vrindavan, bring all your cows, all your family, everyone, come under the hill. And they all piled under the hill that is Govardhana. And they were using their sticks to help Krishna prop up the Govardhana hill. Not so much out of fear, but just to contribute, whatever they could contribute to Krishna. Obviously, if Krishna has a hill on his pinky, he doesn't need any more help. But still, out of their love, out of their wanting to reciprocate, they begin to help Krishna prop up Govardhana with their sticks that they use for plowing the field or herding the cows. And this is a bit of an aside, but it's a nice part of the story. Krishna, as we know, has a crush on Radha. And Krishna was holding Govardhana hill in the pinky of his left hand. And he saw Radha and the other gopi girls looking at Krishna with such admiration. And Krishna became a little distracted, and he saw his elder brother, Balaram. And Balaram was looking at Krishna and looking at the Radha and the gopis. It's like, Krishna, really? You're holding Govardhan Hill and you're making eye contact with the girls over here? Krishna, really? So Krishna became a little bashful, uh, he was caught in the act by his brother Balaram. And it's described, I believe it's in Gopal Champu, this story is there. Krishna had kind of like was startled because he was caught by Balaram. And all the people of Vrindavan thought Krishna was becoming tired. And they started using their sticks to prop up and help Krishna with the Govardhana Hill. Anyways, that was just a nice aside in the story of the love between Radha and Krishna and how Balaram is always teasing Krishna about it. Be that as it may, this is about gratitude and abundance. But let's finish off the story. So Krishna held the Govardhan Hill for 7 days and 7 nights. And Samvartaka is just pouring rain nonstop for 7 days, 7 nights. It's described that for these 7 days and 7 nights, all of the inhabitants of Vrindavan who were under this hill with Krishna felt neither fatigue, hunger, none of the stresses of the material body. They were just in complete joy, satisfaction, contentment, and happiness for being in proximity, in relation with Krishna in this singular event and happening. Story goes on, Indra's watching this, and he's just with rage watching the Samvartaka inundate Vrindavan day after day after day. And he realizes, he sees that nothing is happening, right? The entire Vrindavan is flooded, but the people of Vrindavan are under this hill, lifted by this little 4-year-old, 5-year-old boy. And the people of Vrindavan are completely free from fear, terror, hunger, anxiety in every way. In fact, they've completely forgotten about Indra and his Indra Yagya and the Samvartaka. They're completely immersed in their relationship and their experience with Krishna in this moment. Then Indra begins to realize that he's made an incredible mistake, that this little boy is his boss. The inhabitants of Vrindavan realize that when Krishna says worship Giriraj, Govardhan prior to this was Giriraj. Giri means hill, Raj means king. So for Vrindavan, the inhabitants of Vrindavan, the king of all hills was Govardhan, because the Govardhan hill was providing the grass and the minerals, everything they needed for their livelihood was coming from Govardhan. All the medicinal herbs they need, it was all coming from Govardhan. So for the inhabitants of Vrindavan, the king of hills was Govardhan. But now the realization came that the king of all hills was Krishna as Giriraj, because Govardhan, being the king of hills, was lifted by a 4-year-old boy. So this 4-year-old boy, Krishna, thereafter became known as the king of all hills, because Krishna was able to lift Govardhan. Indra came down, realizing his mistake completely. Now he's frightened, because now he's recognized that, yes, this little 4-year-old boy who I thought was little kindergarten, preschooler, happens to be my boss. And I have completely overstepped and have tried to drown my boss's family. Indra was absolutely terrified. He comes down and, first of all, he sends Samvartaka away. Samvartaka goes away. Rain stops. The sun comes out. All of the inhabitants of Vrindavan, they go away. They leave, come out of the hill. Krishna puts the hill down, and everyone is obviously grateful, joyful in their experience of what they've just gone through with Krishna. When they disperse, Indra takes the opportunity to come and he offers prayers to Krishna, realizing that Krishna is his boss. That much we'll leave aside because that's an entire beautiful prayers of Lord Indra. But that's not what we're getting at. We're talking about gratitude and abundance. This story is a story of gratitude and abundance. When Krishna talks to Nanda Maharaj in the beginning, he's talking to Nanda Maharaj about gratitude. He was saying, you have, or we have, everything that we need. Why are we worshiping? Why are we living in a fear? This is me explaining the lesson. Why are we operating from a place of fear of the outside, fear of the unknown, right? That's how Nanda Maharaj was operating. This fear of Indra and worshiping out of fear. Better to work from a place, to live from a space of gratitude. So Krishna was moving their consciousness, moving their mindset, moving their focus and energy from fear-driven activities, worship of Indra, otherwise he's going to inundate us, which he did, but we'll come back to that, but moving it to a place of gratitude. So Krishna began to focus on that and begin to ask Nanda Maharaj, for what are we grateful? Well, we're farmers. We have cows. We have hundreds of thousands of cows from which we give so much wealth. Very well, Krishna says. How do we show our gratitude to the cows? Give them wonderful balls of molasses and grain. Excellent. For what else are we grateful? Govardhana Hill, because from Govardhana, the cows are on Govardhana Hill eating the grasses, lush, green, nutrient-filled grasses. They're able to drink their fill from the reservoirs that come from Govardhana Hill. We get all our medicine from Govardhana Hill. Anything we need for building our homes, the minerals, the ore, the wood, everything we need for our livelihood comes from Govardhana. Let's be grateful for Govardhana. Very well, worship Govardhana. For what else are we grateful? The Brahmanas. Because the Brahmanas give us so much instructions on life itself, on dharma, artha, kama, moksha, and they give it freely. They give it fully. They give it without hesitation. They give us so much guidance in this regard. Let's show gratitude to the Brahmins. So Krishna is shifting the consciousness from fear to gratitude. That's the story of Govardhana. That's the story of Govardhana Puja. It's operating from from a place of our cup is half full, rather than our cup is half empty. That's really what the Govardhana story is all about. Because when we operate from a place of our cup being half empty, when we operate from a space, of fear, when we operate from a space of lack, then even when we try to improve our circumstances, there's a problem. Because with fear, with terror, comes constriction of consciousness, right? When we're afraid of something, we become hyper-focused. And we focus on the very narrow and on the very short term. And even if we improve the situation from the very narrow-minded point of view and in the very short-term point of view, we have completely lost track of what's going to happen thereafter. What are the long-term effects? How are the effects going to be experienced by others around us? That's what fear does. That's what terror does. That's what anxiety does. It brings us in the here and now, and it's very good for self-preservation. right? If a car is coming down the road at you at 60 miles an hour, you need to be hyper focused on right here, right now. But we know that to live constantly in this hyper vigilant, hyper focused terror mindset, it is detrimental for our physical, emotional well being. I mean, we physically, the chemical makeup of our body conspires to get us ill and sick when we're always operating in that mindset. A common, what time is it? A common counter is, well, if I'm always operating from a place of, oh, everything is wonderful, then I'll never try to improve my circumstances. This is entirely false. I understand where this counter idea comes from, that if I'm always being grateful for a situation that is actually untenable, then I will never improve my circumstances. Completely untrue. When we're operating from a place of gratitude, even when our situation is untenable, we are better able, in fact, to improve our circumstances without being locked in a narrow-minded, short-sighted mentality. So we're actually able to create solutions that are broad-minded and strategic in nature. That's what operating from a space of gratitude does for our consciousness, for our problem-solving skills, for how we move through the world. So it is not that we do not make our circumstances better if we're operating from a place of gratitude. Of course we will. But we're operating from a mindset that is broad-minded and far-reaching. And that's what we want. We include everybody and we bring them into the situation, into the problem-solving process, into the relationship development process, which ultimately leads to far-reaching long-term solutions, long-term development, long-term growth, long-term upliftment. So the story of Govardhana is about shifting from a fear-based, anxiety-based mindset and coming to focus on and recognizing, emphasizing those things for which we are grateful. That's the story of Govardhana. And the second part of that is abundance. Oftentimes, the abundant part, the abundant lesson of the Govardhana Hill is the Govardhana story is often emphasized more than the gratitude part. They're equally important, but the gratitude aspect is often left, it's not emphasized as much. And we talk about abundance, abundance, abundance. But abundance in what way? The abundance that Krishna was talking about was the abundance that Vrindavan already had. What do we have right now? We have cows, we have a wonderful hill, and we have highly qualified, highly generous Brahmin community to give us knowledge, guidance, and advice. That's what we have right here, right now. That is our abundance. So remember, because we are so narrow-minded, short-sighted, we do not see the abundance we have right in front of us. So the question we must ask ourselves, look at our situation right here, right now, switch to an abundance mindset and look at our situation accurately. What do we have right here, right now, in my being, in my character, my personality, physical resources, personal, professional relationships, right now, and recognize the abundance that we have right here, right now. If you want to take that to a spiritual sense, then we can ask ourselves, or not ask ourselves, it should be asked. Remember I talked about in previous satsangs, Purna. Om Purnamadha Purnamidham Purnad Purnamudhachyate. We are perfectly complete. The community of Vrindavan was perfectly complete. It had everything right there. Even when Indra sent Samvartaka, the clouds of total annihilation, their salvation lie in what they had right there, which was Govardhan Hill and little baby Krishna. The only thing they needed to see was to focus from fear, lack, scarcity mentality to one of gratitude and abundance. And once their consciousness was focused on gratitude and abundance, everything opened up for them. Even in the most dire, the most troubling situations, their salvation, their solutions came from a consciousness that was centered on gratitude and abundance. They have baby Krishna, 4-year-old, preschool Krishna, and a hill. Do you think they would have understood that if they were in a short-sighted, anxiety-driven, glass half empty mentality? No. So Govardhan Lila is about gratitude and abundance, not about getting abundance from outside of ourselves. Very, very important. And a very, very common, I won't say misunderstanding, I would say a very common, what's the word I'm looking for? Omission. A very common omission from the Govardhan story. That the abundance is not about getting more from outside. The abundance is we are perfectly complete. And in our perfect completeness, our abundance comes from there. We have all that we need, all that we require right within us, right here, right now. That is our abundance. The community of Vrindavan had everything they needed in times of great jubilation and in times of existential crisis. Everything that they needed, they had it right within their own community. If only they would recognize it. The way we come to recognize this is through gratitude. So, the lesson, this is what we're taking from this today. Gratitude. I ask that you practice for the next 7 days this particular exercise in gratitude. Now, if you've been with me long enough, you know I always talk about a daily swadhyaya, a daily practice in self-development, which may mean something as simple as sitting down, laying down, whatever works for you, in silence, not in sleep, in silence, and developing observation and awareness of the self. That's the very beginning. That can grow into many different other types of meditation. Mine is mantra meditation, but I also spend a lot of time in silence and a lot of time in mantra meditation as well, whether it's silent meditation, whatever works for you. But I want you to add this for the next 7 days. For the next 7 days, morning and evening, not just once a day, morning and evening, I want you to practice, deliberately practice gratitude. Now, you may have some difficulty in practicing gratitude. So I'm going to spoon feed you a practice in gratitude. And I want you to use what I give you for the next 7 days. After 7 days, develop your own practice of gratitude. But I want you to practice this very specific sadhana of gratitude simply for the next 7 days. That is this, morning and evening for about a minute. I am grateful that I have the ability to walk. That's it. I know it sounds almost childish. Give me just a moment to take care of this technical. There we go. It sounds almost childish. Something so simple. I am grateful for the ability to walk. No, sit with that for a moment. Imagine, just right now, imagine if you did not have the ability to walk, how different your life would be. How not necessarily less full, but how you would not be able to do the things you do now for which you take for granted. All the things we take for granted simply from the ability to walk can make you immensely grateful to have a healthy pair of working legs. Now, it is not about, very important, it is not about the legs or walking. What this exercise is going to do is it's just going to shift your mind from half empty to half full. And in that shift, from there, you can begin growth. Because you can be in a half empty mindset and try to grow, and you will develop, you will achieve even great achievements from that space. A lot of people do. But those achievements will be short sighted and narrow minded, and therefore their far reaching, broader effects can be and most likely will be detrimental to yourself and people around you. So we want growth and development, but from a mindset that is based in the half full perspective, where our mind, our body is open, is broad minded, is accepting, is observant of more than just what's here and now. So, to reiterate, then we'll chant a little japa and end. I know we could not go to Zoom today, so I will not have much feedback. I believe you can put feedback in the chat, which is live at the moment. So if you have any questions, put it in the chat and we can go over that. But for right now, I just want to share this. 7 days, morning and evening, for about 60 seconds, really, to recite this confirmation, right? This confirmation. I am grateful. Use the word grateful. I am grateful for my ability, make it personal. I am grateful for my ability to walk. Recite that for a minute or 64 times, whichever comes first. Recite that. It doesn't have to be out loud, it can be within your mind, and then sit with the feeling, the emotional awareness of that ability which we have. Morning, after you wake up, and before you go to bed. In 7 days, I guarantee you, it will, even before the 7 days, you will begin going through your day with a mindset that is broader, more accepting, more aware of opportunities around you. It just completely opens up your inherent nature of Ananda Maya. We talked about, I'm not going to go into Ananda Maya right now. Ananda Maya is the positive nature of the soul to experience much of what is positive around us, not negating those things which are challenging, but being more aware from the fact that we can transform everything around us into something that is uplifting and beneficial for ourselves and others around us. So that is the lesson. Let's chant some japa. Oh, I have a feeling that if we practice this, we will be, this is a comment. I have a feeling that if we practice this, we will be unable to just be grateful for our ability to walk. I think a lot more gratitude will flood our consciousness. So true. So true. This is just really, it's the tip of the iceberg to this particular phrase. I am grateful for my ability to walk. This is, I'm giving you this just to get you started. Some people need a slap across the face. Someone needs to be kicked, you know what I mean? Because some people are so removed from gratitude. They, I'm not saying, some people have a hard time kickstarting a gratitude state of being. They don't know, well, yeah, I'm grateful, but they can't get it. So sometimes I have to spoon feed someone, because this world does not teach us, does not want us to be grateful. This world wants us to be Nanda Maharaj. This world wants us to feel depleted. This world wants to feel like we don't have enough. This world wants us to make us feel like we're incomplete. We're not there. We are imperfect, so that we're always striving to buy this, buy that, buy this, buy that, do this, consume. Make these big, Nanda Maharaj made this huge yajna from a fear mindset. No, Krishna, do that huge thing and use it, but use it for gratitude. All of these celebrations, all these decorations, all these preparations coming from a fear-based mindset. No, take all of the same thing, but put it come from a consciousness of gratitude. That's all. So the commenter is right. Even though I'm reducing it to this single statement, this is just to kid, and you will see the commenter is absolutely correct. Within the first 1, 2, 3 days, you will find so many things to be grateful for. You'll be sitting down doing your I am grateful for my ability to walk. Your child will walk in the room, you open your eyes, and a flood of gratitude will just overwhelm you when you see your child walk into a room and they're interrupting your meditation. And you will see your child almost as if for the first time. That's what gratitude does. Nanda Maharaj saw the Brahmins for the first time when Krishna asked him, what are you grateful for? Nanda Maharaj saw the cows for the first time. He's had them his whole life. He's been a cowherd man for his entire life. That is the community. He saw the cows for the first time when Krishna says, for what are you grateful? He saw Govardhana Hill for the first time. He's been living at the base of Govardhana Hill his entire life. He saw Govardhana Hill for the first time when Krishna asked for, what are you grateful? Nanda Maharaj gave the definition of Giriraj, king of the hills, to Govardhan. But then he saw his 4-year-old for the first time lifting Govardhan Hill. Then he realized for the first time, my child is Giriraj. My child is the king of the hills. That's what gratitude does. It opens your awareness. It makes you broad-minded and far-sighted. You see everything. That's all. I can go on forever, but let's have 5 minutes of japa, and I must carry on and leave you all here. We'll be back next week, next Sunday, 9 a.m. Eastern, but I have a couple of kids are going to come screaming in at any moment. So let's have a few minutes of japa. Many of you know the Hare Krishna mantra, so recite with me out loud. We want the mantra to reverberate. We want the vibration of the mantra to reverberate through our entire physical being and bring us to a state and help us create that state and live in that place of bhakti, of love. And then carry on with your 7-day gratitude meditation. All right, put my timer on for a minute. And let's get started. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That was not 1 minute. Oh, I see what that is. Sorry, that was a different alarm. But let's end there. Oh, the commenter added another comment. I mean, even in the first couple of days. Yes. Even in the first couple of days. It won't take 7 days. It will not take 7 days for this simple gratitude sadhana. It will not take 7 days. You will feel the transformation almost instantaneously. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Kuruvavahai Tejasvina Vadhitamastuma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. See you next Sunday.